Good morning, Nick.
How have you found the last week, both in terms of the effectiveness of keeping the show on the road and also the reaction to it?
It's been an unprecedented week, really, Nick. I think we're all in uncharted territory. As regards to the first point, the effectiveness is very good. I'd have to compliment the entire industry, jockeys, trainers, stable staff, IHRB officials, the media. Everybody has got this very quickly, and we're satisfied that we can create on a racecourse a safe environment, as safe as anywhere else that's remaining open. In fact, ironically, racecourses are ideally suited when you strip away public customers, caterers, bookmakers, to social isolation. They're big open spaces with a lot of empty rooms. So in terms of the practicalities of it, I think we're satisfied that racecourses and race fixtures are a safe environment in line with the government guidelines regarding social distancing and regarding COVID. And that's important, and it's important in terms of other jurisdictions as well, that if we can create a safe environment, and we've seen that, racing is going on behind closed doors in Hong Kong, in Dubai, in Australia, in the States, in parts of the States. So it can be done, there's no doubt about that. And that's been very reassuring. In terms of the reaction, generally there's been a mixed reaction, positives and negatives, generally positive, certainly overwhelmingly positive within the industry. Outside the industry, some elements of curiosity when you explain it to them and when you explain the context in which we're doing what we're doing. With safety being the primary consideration, with the ambition of protecting jobs and protecting livelihoods, people understand it. And then you have other people who say, look, you shouldn't be racing at all, it should just shut down completely. So it ranges across the spectrum. But in taking this action, we've consulted with our government. We're reviewing it on a day-to-day basis. And certainly the government's view and the advice is, if you can create safe environments, and can keep business moving, then do so. If you feel you cannot create a safe environment or you're putting people at risk, then you should stop.
So that is the specific advice from the Irish government?
Yeah, they're the discussions we've had with government all the way through, that the social distancing protocols are the key. If you can't enforce them, then you shouldn't be racing.
Conor McGinn MP, I don't know if you were listening to him just a few moments ago, here in the UK, said it's obscene to think that we in horse racing can absent ourselves from our national duty. And he was referring to the use of medics and the use of personnel who would be much better deployed fighting this tragedy that is gripping the globe.
Yeah, I think that's been at the forefront of our thoughts. We have a different system in Ireland. Our medics are not provided by the NHS, are not provided centrally. Our ambulances are provided on a voluntary basis by the Order of Malta. Our doctors are employed by the IHRB, and we have said all the way through the process that as soon as they are required for the national effort, they are available and they will be allocated to the national effort. Our racecourses, our medical rooms and racecourses, our doctors and our ambulances, they're not required at the moment. Ironically, the Order of Malta has up to 100 ambulances. They're on standby, but they haven't been called. And actually they're idle at the moment because they're usually attending GAA matches, football matches, all sorts of other events. So, I mean, clearly when they're required, and if and when they're required for the national effort, that will come first.
I'll tell you what, Brian, the thing that struck me was that certainly on social media there was quite a lot of criticism of Irish people who'd come to the Cheltenham Festival, which obviously went ahead as planned. So I was doing a lot of assuming here, but I assumed that in the light of a certain amount of criticism in social media, in general media as well, that perhaps that would rub off and you would actually stop possibly even earlier than Britain. But clearly that's not been the case.
No, I think we try to look at it in a responsible fashion. I can understand the critics. I think some of the criticism at Cheltenham is unfounded. At the same time, The airports were fully open with people travelling from all over the world. People were travelling over and back to the UK for football matches. I think Cheltenham, it was unlucky. The whole thing ramped up very much, literally in the first 2 days of Cheltenham. When you went to Cheltenham, we came back to a very different country. And I think people are able to distinguish as well, Cornelius, between, a race meeting behind closed doors, which is not really a race meeting at all as we know it, and a race meeting with 60,000 people there. I think the concerns were not that Cheltenham was run, they were that it wasn't run behind closed doors at the time. But, that's a separate consideration. Should Cheltenham have gone ahead the way it did, that's a matter for the British authorities. And people who went to Cheltenham from Ireland, did so at the time under the advice of the Irish authorities. There was no travel ban to the UK, there was no restrictions, in terms of pubs and restaurants at that time. So the timing of the Cheltenham Festival wasn't fortunate this year.
Brian, final question for you. If the curve in Ireland is somewhat behind the curve in the United Kingdom as regards confirmed...
We see, and as I said, we're reviewing it on a day-to-day basis, and the board will review it on a weekly basis, and will take account of the general environment and take account of the general medical situation.
Would you be surprised if you were still racing in a month?
Very hard to say, Nick. I'm really only looking forward to the next week at this stage. And planning. It really is on a day-by-day basis at this stage.
Brian, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Subscribe to Racing TV to be notified when more Luck on Sunday videos are appearing online. And don't forget to join me for the show every Sunday morning from 9 o'clock with the best guests.